We're on. Welcome everyone. On behalf of the Colac Otway Disability Accommodation Incorporated, I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today and pay my respects to their elders past and present. And I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here and joining us online today. Thank you.
Hello everyone. For anyone that doesn't know my name's Ed Morrissey. I'm the chair. I'd like to welcome everybody here. So it's been a bit of a difficult year. I suppose that doesn't go without saying lightly. It's been one of those years where it's just been one thing after another, and Coda have had to take on some major challenges. So I'd like to congratulate Monica on the role that she's played in overcoming some of those challenges. And I've got a long list of things that have probably set those challenges throughout the year, and I'll speak to them as we go through. But this is our first attempt at a Zoom meeting, so bear with us. Hopefully everything goes without a hitch, but there will be a recorded version of this meeting if anything goes astray and you're not able to continue to watch it or be involved in it. Certainly contact us and we'll be able to give you a copy of that sometime down the track. I suppose this is a reflection of those difficult times and the challenges that we've faced this year as a organisation. And not only have we had to deal with COVID and all of that, the challenges that's thrown up, we've also had an audit and a Royal Commission and a number of other things that have thrown some challenges to our admin staff and to not only that to all working staff as well. So I congratulate everyone on the role that they've played to get through it and to be a part of that successful year that Coda has been able to do. So without any further ado, we'll get into the meeting. So I have some apologies. So at this stage, we've only got the three. So Jason Schramm, Bernadette O'Connor, and Bonnie Trotter are our apologies. The minutes of the last meeting, I'll very briefly scan through those. So we started off with a welcome similar to tonight. Welcome everyone here. It was our 40th anniversary last year, so we had a list of apologies. The minutes of the previous meeting were read out and confirmed. There was no business arising. Monica provided us with the annual report. We also had the Treasurer's report. Sorry, come visit us. We had our audited report presented by John, our Treasurer, and which was again a very good result in our operations. Showed a surplus, and we again appointed Crowe Horwath as our auditor for the following year. Our election was carried out, which saw a number of people recommitting to the board in various positions. Our office bearers were nominated and accepted. We had several awards presentations, and we had some guest speakers that went through the night as well. As we said, we had the 40th anniversary, so we were able to celebrate that, and then we had a close. So can I get someone to accept those minutes of the last meeting that was present last year? Thank you, Ross and Mary. All in favour? Thank you. There was no business arising from our minutes of last year, nor was there any correspondence received. So in doing that, we can move through to our annual report, and I'm going to ask Monica to come forward and talk to us about the annual report.
Hi everyone. Thank you for joining us at our AGM this year in whichever way you can. I'm just trying to discreetly find a place to put my mask. This has certainly been a year where we've all had to face some new challenges, think flexibly and support increased screen time, which as a parent I can't believe that I'm actually doing. Reflecting on our office conversations with staff over the year, I feel like we've all been whirling dervishes, constantly turning our attention to something new and challenging without a chance to stop. We've just had to keep turning and responding to a host of external influences, and we're grateful to have such a proactive and energetic team to manage through these times. Anthony, or Tony Graham as he likes to be called, joined us in September 2019 as Operations Manager, and Tony certainly hit the ground running, working with supervisors and their teams to improve their services and understand the service delivery that we undertake. In January, Tony began working through the draft enterprise agreement requirements with Jenny Woods and the supervisors to understand and rework our rostering and payroll processes, with the agreement effective on March 1st, 2020. And as you can imagine, trying to reorient a payroll process and a rostering system is no easy task. It was certainly heads down during the beginning of March as they worked through these new rules around staffing hours. And then of course you all know what happened next. Pandemic responses for all our clients, an individual and service stream level, and a broad-ranging business continuity plan to cover a range of anticipated issues presented by the pandemic were then on the agenda, taking up significant hours of all the administration staff and supervisory staff. Alongside of developing and implementing strategies to keep our clients, staff and community safe as we deliver services, we also had to orient our documentation and services to comply with the NDIS quality and safeguarding practice standards. Julia Carroll put in a significant lens on our clinical governance and improved our internal management and administration of medication processes. Julia also put in many hours in preparing our incident report records to respond to any request for submission by the Royal Commission into violence, abuse, neglect and exploitation of people with disability. As usual, we had our minor reviews of service models and associated documentation to reflect any NDIA imposed improvements on funding parameters, which Jan Garodin, Olivia Gotu and Mary Szymanski continue to work through in the administration and supervisory staffing teams to update and refine the collection and processing of information to invoice for our services. Kat Bryan, with the assistance from Stephen Thompson and Cicely Benson, regularly upgrade both hardware, software and our document management systems to respond to the raft of changes and maintain the integrity of personal and historical information of the organisation. We also started the NDIA-directed internal separation of supported independent living services, which is the provision of staffing in shared house settings, and specialist disability accommodation, which is providing a house for rent for clients. We have most of our documentation separated into the two different types of service as per the NDIA requirements, but our houses still remain gazetted as group homes with the Department of Health and Human Services. Many of our residents are waiting for the 7th year for the allocation of SDA funding in their plans, and the various governing agencies involved still haven't worked out a response where we have residents within one household with different funding streams. Although the year was busy and challenging, there were some truly shining moments. We've met our savings target for Thomas Street development, a new 5-bedroom house for people with disabilities, and we look forward to commencing construction next year. Our DKNet partnership has been invaluable as we discussed issues and shared resources regarding the new practice standards, prepared for the Royal Commission and worked through pandemic response issues. And I'm sincerely grateful for the generosity of time and spirit from the DKNet CEO group as we all grappled with the significant challenges experienced by our individual organisations. For the first time in many years, the disability sector also came together to problem solve and give their time to support other organisations. As a group of disability services across Victoria and Tasmania, we helped each other to problem solve, source and share PPE and other products and services required to enable a safe environment for our clients and staff when we did not receive any support from funding bodies. Whilst we are constantly reminded that we must orient service delivery to a business model, service to community is still at the core of the disability sector as we support those most vulnerable to experience their best and safest lives in challenging times. Our former CEO, Jackie Suarez, had her life work recognised on behalf of people with disabilities to live their best lives, which was recognised with an Order of Australia medal. Living the embedded culture of service Jackie established within this organisation, we acknowledge the incredible commitment of many of our direct support staff during these times. Personal support roles became much more complex, and staff with the responsibility for the health and well-being of others also experienced increased risks to their own health and safety in a pandemic environment. We thank these staff for continuing to work in close contact situations to support people both in our residences and within their own homes in the way they choose to be supported. We thank our supervisors and coordinators, Wendy Owen, Bernice Reynolds, Jo Cook, Corinna Henriksen, Sue Gamble, Katrina Hester, Renee Wilson and Carla Marshall, who continued to work consistently with management to implement the required safety measures and support their staff to problem solve the application of government directives with their clients. Our board members have also continued to provide regular leadership and pastoral support, checking in on the organisation, inquiring about staff wellbeing and always offering assistance and considered direction and leadership. We thank the people that continue to place their trust in Coda and choose to use our services. We hope that we can continue to meet your needs in the future as well as we have in the past. I hope you enjoy reading our report and the snapshots of client achievements and staff activity, with our thanks going to Wendy Fox, who pulled together our annual report around all of our other priorities the past couple of months. Copies of our annual report can be picked up from the office if you would like one, but we're also happy to post them out to you for those that haven't been able to attend this evening. Finally, many thanks to Mary, Olivia, Wendy and Kat, who all worked on our various gatherings tonight across Colac to ensure our clients can participate in our annual general meeting. So hopefully with technology willing, West Street, Cass House, Jelma and people at the launch pad at the back of the Bromfield are tapping in and watching us here tonight. Thank you everyone for your participation and joining us online. I'll now invite John Scarrett, our Treasurer, to speak to our financial report.
Thank you, Monica. It's my pleasure to present to you tonight the finance report for the 2019-2020 financial year. Those of you who have copies of the report, you will see that it comprises the statement of profit and loss and other comprehensive income, statement of financial position, statement of changes in equity, cash flow statement, accompanying explanatory notes, the officer's declaration and the audit report itself, which is pleased to report is again unqualified. Just a brief overview of the finances for the year. Coda income for the year was $5,430,567. Expenditure $4,722,796. That gave an operating surplus for the year of $707,707. Total Coda assets stand at $4,208,831. Liabilities $822,258. Giving a net asset accumulated funds and reserve figure of $3,360,609. The strength of this position is seen through the current asset ratio of 5.1 to 1, which would be the envy of almost all organisations. This places Coda in a position, a very financially strong position, to pursue both its short and long-term goals. As Monica has mentioned, 2018-19 has proved to be a challenging year in all respects, and finance is certainly not immune from that. Coping with COVID-19 has produced a range of challenges in terms of service delivery, funding of all aspects of our operation. Embedded in the figures, but not individually highlighted, were a range of minor works incomes from Give Where You Live Foundation, $7,500, Commonwealth Bank, $10,000. Ongoing expense changes, which the service had to cope with, related to the Portable Long Service Leave Scheme, contributions which came into effect for all disability service workers on January 1, 2020. Coda now pays a quarterly levy of 1.65%, both permanent and casual employees of the service. Pandemic impacts, as you could appreciate, were immense, as Monica has again mentioned. Increased long service payments and backfilled costs in March and April as staff returned from overseas and had to take additional leave for quarantine had to be met. As a registered charitable organisation, Coda was eligible for JobKeeper 1.0, comparative loss of 22% in income in the same period of the last financial year. The entire benefit of government subsidies to the end of the financial year was $423,500. As I said, it's not highlighted in the report, but is in. Given these unique impacts, it's to the credit of all staff involved in the financial operation of Coda that we're able to present such a positive position in 2019-2020. That completes my report, Ed. I'm happy to take questions, should there be any. There being no questions, I move that the report be accepted. I have a second. Thank you, Miffy. That completes the finance report, Ed. Now I'd like to move on to the election of auditors. Our audit this year was completed by the organisation formerly known as Crowe Hall. The accounting arm of Crowe Hall, I believe, now becomes Crowe Australasia. I would like to move that this group to conduct our external audit for 2020-2021 financial year. I'm happy to move that if I could have a second, please. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, John. That's, as you said, a very strong position that Coda finds itself in after what has been a pretty tough year. So our next agenda item is to go through the election of board members. So we have the resignation of one member this year to George. Thank you for your involvement in Coda, and replacing George will be Tim Clark. Tim was accepted on as a board member. We also had David Tram re-elected to another 3-year position, filling our board positions. I've taken on role as chair again for this year, with Karen as vice chair, and John has kindly taken on the treasurer's role again. So that is the election of our board members and office bearers for this upcoming 12 months. The next part, I will ask Karen to come forward and assist. You won't see her until she does move into screen, but she's going to be off there to the side. So we have got some awards and some presentations for the years of service. And the first one that I'd like to call up is for John. John, our treasurer, has had 10 years of continuous service with the Coda board. Many of those years as treasurer, and outstanding role that he's played in assisting and helping the board to make sure we present those strong financial figures. So if John can come forward, I'll sort of move a little to the left, and we'll see Karen present a prize or a certificate.
Karen moving in right to the edge. and handing a certificate. And thank you for your 10 years service,
Thank
John.
you very
Much
much,
appreciated.
Thank you.
Sorry if this looks a little awkward, but it is what it is. Our next one, I'd like to call up Mary Carew. Mary, we're presenting a 20-year service award to Mary, and Mary is actually, I believe, entering her 22nd year, so it was remiss of us not to recognise it last year. But we acknowledge, again, an outstanding commitment to Coda over a very, very long period of time. So again, thank you very much, and I'll exit again.
Thank you very much, Mary, for 20 years. We can't do shaking hands or hugs, but we can blow kisses. And, thank you.
The next part of the award or the presentation service is one that as a board we look back on in the past few months, and it's come about through a variety of reasons, I suppose. But life membership is something that, as a board, we haven't really considered a great deal. And looking back through the records, it was a life member nominee back in 1991, Bertha Langdon. So we recognise that, obviously, with that, my time in Coda, I'm certainly not aware of Bertha's contribution, but it's clearly significant. And there are people within our organisation that we'd like to recognise tonight. So I'm going to ask Karen to say a few words, but I'm going to ask Jackie to come forward to receive life membership.
Maybe we can do this. So it's my absolute pleasure and honour to extend life membership to Jackie. Jackie was the inaugural. It would have been easier to say first, but I just wanted to show off my linguistics. First CEO of Coda, and had a massive impact in shaping the direction and the fantastic culture that we've got in the organisation today. Besides being a paid role, Jackie's contribution over and above her job was significant, and her input to disability in general with the pilot program in Colac, Otway for the NDIA. Jackie was an instrumental part in seeing that rolled out. Her efforts with early intervention and integration of people with disabilities into schools was acknowledged with her Order of Australia medal earlier this year to services to people with a disability. And I'm just incredibly proud that Jackie was a member of Coda, and as a representative of Coda and a representative of her daughter Mia, has had such an amazing contribution to Coda and disability services in general. And well done on your life membership, Jackie.
Thank you. And I will just say a few words, and hello everybody out there who's not able to be here tonight. It's a really weird world that we're all living in at the moment. First of all, to be named after someone like Bertha Langdon is an incredible honour. For those of us who knew and worked with Bertha, she was an amazing woman with tremendous foresight, tremendous will, and a heart of gold. So I really appreciate being able to perhaps be named alongside a woman of such substance. When I came to Coda, we were a very small organisation, and Bertha was on a committee of management then, and we grew over time, both in size and scope and reputation, and this organisation is so highly regarded across the Victorian community, and it's nice to know that you've left it in such good stead and people have continued on and grown and developed both the organisation's contribution to people with a disability and their capacity to continue to expand. And I did, even though we often feel like we've got to the end of a journey and we've achieved so much, this week I had a terrible reminder of how far we've still got to go when I read some media about a particular sports person's comments around the United States presidential result, and I was completely gobsmacked that there's still people expressing those sorts of attitudes in modern day Australia. So we've got a long way to go still. And we've also in the last couple of months had reason to be a little involved at some distance to a young family struggling to come to terms with their child with disability. And I know now there is still a lot of work to do. And I'm so grateful that you have such a terrific team of people here in Colac to continue that fight, to continue to support families as they traverse what's both a typical journey but an incredible honour and privilege. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jackie. Look, it is hard. We'd all like to give you a big hug, but we'll do our best in this environment. Now, we, in reflection of the people that have done such incredible work for Coda, we decided that Jackie wasn't the only person, I suppose, that needed to be recognised tonight. So I'm also going to call up Mary back to the stage to receive a life membership. Just a few words about Mary. Mary's work started some time ago, and it may not have been something that Mary thought about at the time, that it would lead to such a long involvement in disability. But Mary's brother was involved in an accident when he was aged 21, which was quite some years ago. And from that point on, Mary continued to fight for rights of people with disabilities, and for her brother's sake to be able to come back to a facility that had an environment that could care for him and his needs. So Mary's ability to fight for the rights of individuals, to volunteer for the Leap Shop, as you heard, to have 20-year involvement plus on a Coda board is outstanding and very well deserved addition, I suppose, to the life membership of Coda. So congratulations, and a small gift as well for you.
Hello everyone. This was a bit of a surprise because I knew Jackie and someone else was getting one, and someone didn't tell me until I walked in tonight and said, I thought there was going to be 3 and I only got notice of 2. And she said, well, it's a surprise. So it was a surprise, and a lovely surprise too. Yes, 22 years on Coda, but a long time before that. So Ed said my brother was 21 when he was hit by a car in Murray Street, and spent 12 years in an old folks home in Melbourne. And it's still going on with young people, unfortunately, before Coda was opened, and a long fight to get him to Colac. Coda was open, Colander. Colander was to be open for the Southwest region, which I thought our brother was, but he wasn't accepted. He was completely unable to walk. Anyway, had a lot of problems, but he wasn't accepted. So Ellen and I actually went to our Member of Parliament and got him to have the month-long test they had, and the doctors and everyone there agreed that he was the right person to come to Colac. But when I went to Melbourne, it was refused. It's really quite funny. my older sister was a nun, and is a nun still. And she, you know, they used to wear that regalia, all the things. And when the doctor rang me and told me that he'd been refused in Melbourne, I said, my sister, who's a nun, is prepared to go on the Mike Willesee show. And because Mike Willesee at that time was doing a lot of things that were unfair, you know, looking into them. She's willing to go on the Mike Willesee show, and she's a nun, and, you know. And he said to me, it was a Friday, I remember, give me till Tuesday. And my mother didn't have the phone, so Tuesday, I had all the nuns at St Mary's praying the whole weekend. And on the Tuesday, he rang and said, he's in. And that was the start of him being in Colac. And then eventually he was lucky enough to go into a house at Coda, where he stayed for until he died. So that's my time with Coda, and it's been wonderful. And the change in what we have now, what we have then, is just remarkable. We're so lucky at Colac to have such wonderful association like Coda, and the people who work there, we're so lucky. Thank you.
Before Mary goes too far, our last nomination and recognition for a life member is for George Roberts. If I could ask George to come forward. George is retiring from the board tonight, and we do thank George for the enormous amount of work that he's done for our board, but Mary's got a few words to say about George and about the history, involvement, I suppose, of George and disability services. Thanks again, Mary.
I'm back again, you'll all be tired of me. Life membership. All right, George is a volunteer with a capital V, and I mean that. I read a few things about George and I couldn't believe how anyone could be so involved in so many things. So, it's a long history supporting the disadvantaged and disabled. It started when he was a young fellow in Stawell. He was helping at the institute there, helping later on to make toys and repair toys at Mont Park in Melbourne, which was another disabled place, organising holidays for disadvantaged people. So that was what he did beforehand for many, many years. When he came to Colac, he volunteered at Colander. And then after that, there was all the service clubs. Now, I didn't write them all down because I would have run out of time. Rotary, Red Cross, Probus, CFA, Do Care, to name just a few, George, and you know all the rest of them. And he was also a recipient of many awards, an OAM for the service to humanity, Senior Pride of Australia, and in 2004, Colac Citizen of the Year, among many other awards too. But back to Coda. At the Coda, George has contributed 17 years of volunteer time. In that capacity, he has been invaluable in his ability to give building and maintenance advice on all Coda properties. That's a great asset we've had. He also has been the representative on the Otway Plaza Body Corporate. So we thank him, we thank him for his contribution to Coda and wish him lots of goodness in your retirement, George. So a well-deserved life.
We have got a gift over there for George. We won't make him carry it onto the stage, but we'll pass that on. So if you'd like.
Thank you very much, Mary, board members and others. Look, my experience with disabled and disabilities started, as Mary just said, at Stawell and Mont Park, and my experience at Colander. Unfortunately, that left me with a terrible image of services to the disabled and disabilities. I lived with that image until such time Bruce Roberts talked me into joining Coda. Well, I came into Coda knowing nothing about the structure of Coda. It was an intellectual experience for me because I knew nothing. But I did learn very quickly that the understanding and the kindness that was being offered to the participants changed my views on disability services. And I congratulate Monica for her work that she does for our participants, and I hope that you can continue that high quality of service that you have in the past and continue in the future. Thank you very much.
We have also a bunch of flowers for Audrey, so we're putting up with Georgian for all those hours. So thank you very much, Audrey, and for the support that you've given George over that period of time. Thank you. That is the end of our award service, and I think you agree that there's 3 people there that are very, very deserving of a life membership for Coda, and you know, the exceptional work that they're doing for people with disability right throughout, not just Colac, but right throughout Victoria and beyond. So thank you. We're pretty much at the close of the meeting now. I mean, as you can see, it's with the financials, we're very fortunate to be in a strong position. Excuse me. It leads us into a position where we're well placed to take on, as Monica mentioned, the next project of building a new facility and hopefully welcoming more people into the Coda organisation. So we will endeavour to push and make sure that we get that project underway and completed as soon as we possibly can. Where I suppose we need to recognise that throughout what has been a very, very tough year, and Monica's mentioned Royal Commission audit, new workplace agreements, and Monica's also had her own personal issues with an operation throughout the year, and then COVID on top of that. So to the team, obviously not just Monica, but Monica's done an extraordinary job, to Tony, to Wendy, to everybody within the administration portion, and to all the people at the home, individual service levels. We thank you for your input. To the board members, again, we need to have somebody that sits and looks at the organisation, I suppose, and make sure that we've got a direction and we steer the ship as best we can. Obviously with Monica running from a day-to-day purpose. So thank you to everybody that's been involved with that. Wendy and Kat have done an amazing job of arranging everything tonight. Hopefully everything's gone smoothly. Kat's looking very confident. So hopefully, so we do thank everybody for joining us. As I said, if for any reason you would like a recorded copy, contact Coda office and we'll be able to arrange that. I wanted to make mention of the Colac Golf Club. They've provided the venue tonight free of charge, which is you know, very, very appreciated. They certainly didn't need to do that, but we do appreciate the fact that they've allowed us into the clubhouse free of charge. So thank you to those. To Jackie, to George, and to Mary, congratulations on your awards and recognition for the work that you've done within Coda. Be safe. Let's continue to fight this COVID situation and do the best to maintain everyone's health and safety throughout it. And I wish you well. Take care.